Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio, and I'm a fan of dumb Pokemon cards, and I say this with love. And today, I get to show you one of the dumbest Pokemon cards, and I mean this very sincerely. One of the dumbest Pokemon cards we've ever seen. But before we get to Anthea and Concordia, yeah, who expected that to come along? Well, maybe we should have done. You know what we do have here? End's Pokemon are back. And this is like legitimately relevant and important because we had Trainers Pokemon in Journey Together, which incidentally is where the End's Pokemon came from. We then had Trainers Pokemon in Destined Rivals, but they were different Trainers Pokemon. They were completely different and separate. There were no N or anything like that. And then that was it. We had two sets with Trainers Pokemon, but there was no overlap between those sets in terms of which trainers were coming in. So the fact that we have new End's Pokemon coming in this set is genuinely important and relevant. It does open the door for Pokemon doing more of this in the future. But when I say that, please bear in mind this is, of course, from the new Mega Dream EX set. It is the end-of-year high-class pack. It is a special set. And this is the kind of thing which fits more into an end-of-year high-class pack, where you can basically do whatever you want, than it does into, for instance, a regular set where we've got a normal theme and random trainers Pokemon don't make sense. So yes, we could absolutely get more, but it is still more likely than not that we actually don't, and we stick to doing this in special sets only. So what have we got then? Well, we have a new line of End cards. We've got ourselves End's Vanilluxe. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with End Zekrom, because we've got a new illustration rare. Of course, we had End's Reshiram last time round, but as you'll know if you're a Gen 5 fanboy, and I am very much unashamedly a Gen 5 fanboy, End gets both depending on which game you play. So, you know what? Reshiram and Zekrom, End really should have both of them. I was genuinely, I'm sure there's videos where I mentioned this, I was genuinely a little bit upset that we got End's Reshiram, but we didn't get End Zekrom. I thought that was a little bit silly. I thought that was a miss. I was unimpressed at the time. Well, they went and fixed it, didn't they? Now we got both, and I am absolutely delighted. Now, what we got here, firstly, phenomenal illustration rare by Bantujo here. But we got free energy, 70 damage, and it's not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. It's quite expensive as a free energy attack, considering it only does 70 damage. It does go through any effects on your opponent's Pokemon, and that's awesome. Anything they would be using to block you doesn't block you, and that's lovely. But we look at this with something like Ignition Energy, and we're like, yay! Oh, that only works for Evolution Pokemon, and this is a basic. Yes, we do have End's PP up, which absolutely will work here, because that accelerates energy from your discard pile to a benched End's Pokemon. But you're still asking quite a lot here to get this rolling. This is very much an emergency attack, shall we say. But then we've got Fire, Lightning, Lightning, Colorless, 250 damage, and it can't attack during your next turn. Okay, that's sounding a bit better. We've got End's PP up, which is great. But then we've also got, for instance, Electric. Remember, you cannot use your Electric Generator here, because Electric Generator only allows you to attach 2 Lightning Pokemon, and this is a Dragon Pokemon, so gutted, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't work. But Electric absolutely will work, so what you can do here is essentially use Electric and use this in an Electric deck, and then just keep a Fire Energy on here, and then every turn just get your Lightning Energy back with Electric and you're rolling. But that's how you can use Zekrom if you want to use it as Zekrom. And to be fair, it does fit in an electric deck as a single prize attacker. But we know that with End's Pokemon, that's not what we're doing, because we have End Zoroark. And then Zoroark for 2 Darkness Energy, and this is where End's PP up becomes amazing. Choose one of your benched End's Pokemon's attacks, use it as this attack. So actually now End Zoroark sits in the active, and now that free energy shred attack on Zekrom is the same cost as everything. So if you need a shred, you've got a shred. That 4 energy 250 just becomes a better version of Reshiram's attack. Oh no, you can't attack next turn. You've had a million attacks over the years that don't let us attack next turn. It's never been that big an issue. Switch to a new Zoroark, you'll be fine. That is why Zekrom is so good. Zekrom on its own is fine. Zekrom being copied by End Zoroark, that works beautifully. But I did promise you a new Vanilluxe. Let's have a chat about Vanilluxe. Worth noting, we do have the full evolution line here. So Vanillite's got Call for Family. Single energy, searches 2 basics and benches them. Lovely artwork as well. Vanillish, free energy, 60 damage. And a defending Pokemon can't attack next turn. Don't sleep on this one. Because if your opponent doesn't have a backup attacker, then actually using this can lock them down. Do not sleep on Vanillish as a cheeky little attack. It's a kind of attack you ain't going to use very much. But because you've just got Zoroark in the active and you're just copying whatever attacks you want, there is utility in this attack. It will win you some games. Then when we get to Vanilluxe, we got free energy, 120, 10 to all of your opponent's bench. I don't like this. You've got to get a stage 2 out to get it working. 120 isn't enough. 10 damage to the bench isn't enough. I love piling snow. 2 colorless energy, double the number of damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. Oh. Yeah, that's great. Now, the obvious answer here is, well, use Enstar Manitan a bit, do 90 to 2 different Pokemon, 1 to the active, 1 to the bench, and then bring in Vanilluxe to turn it into a 180, and then a 360. Because remember, when you double it once, it's doubled. When you double it again, it's essentially quadrupled. Or even use something like a Ting-Lu in the early game. I've not forgotten about Ting-Lu. I know a lot of people have, I have not. Does 30 everywhere. But let's say you use this twice, then bring Vanilluxe up, and everything's got 120 on it, and then everything's got 240 on it, and then everything's got 480 on it. I think we need to go full end, and I'll explain why in a minute. But make no mistake about it, this could be really fun with something like Ting-Lu. So I think Zekrom makes End's Darmanitan way better. Being able to do a flat 250 rather than a flat 170 is great. And that shred attack is quite nice. But I did promise you like the dumbest card we've seen, and I don't intend to disappoint you. Might I introduce you to the supporter card Anthea and Concordia? Now, it's asking a lot, because you can only play this supporter if you have Enstar Manitan in play, and End Zoroark, which you probably will, and End Reshiram, and End Zekrom, well, they're basics, that's fine, and Ends Vanilluxe, and Ends Klinklang. 2 stage 2s, 2 stage 1s, and 2 basics. All the Ends Pokemon. You need to have them all, and it does need to be the full evolution line, so it needs to be Klinklang and Vanilluxe, not any pre-evolutions thereof. Okay. During this turn, if your opponent's active is KO'd by damage by an attack from an Ends Pokemon, take 3 extra prize cards. Oh. That is, and I said this at the start, and I meant it, one of the dumbest Pokemon cards we have ever seen. It is absolutely absurd. The thing is, we live in a world where Stage 2s work. Dragapult is one of the best decks and has been for a while. Charizard is one of the best decks and has been for a while. Gardevoir, same deal. We have been making Stage 2s work for a while. There was a few years ago, we were literally asking the question, are we ever going to see Stage 2s being good again? Well, they kind of are. And let's not forget that Zoroark does have a built-in draw engine. Now, it's also worth pointing out, to make this combo work, you can only have one end Zoroark, so you are limited to one draw of 2 cards. That is annoying. But we also have, like, Grand Tree. And Grand Tree will get a basic and turn it into a stage 2 from your deck. And if your opponent doesn't bump the stadium, you can just immediately do it again. So in 2 turns, without having to muck about at all, you've got your 2 stage 2s out. And like, if you ever get the setup and play the supporter, you win. Because you're taking 3 extra prizes. If you do that once in a game, you don't need to do it again. Like, if you take 4 prizes off a basic single prize Pokemon, you're gonna win the game. Like, yeah, you can KO a Mega and take 6 prizes in 1 turn. Woo! But you don't need to. Like, KO some random 70 HP basic, take 4 prizes, you then need 2 more prizes to win the game, you're gonna be fine. Now, of course, what your opponent's gonna try and do here is just go after your stage 2s. If you use Grand Tree to get a stage 2 out, they're gonna try and bump the stadium and KO your stage 2. But even that is forcing your opponent to play a suboptimal game plan. They're ignoring your Ends Reshiram to try and go after some random stage 2 to stop a combo which might not work anyway. That's fun for you. The biggest issue here, and it is a pretty big issue, to make this work, you have to have 1 End Zoroark, so you're only drawing 2 extra cards. And your supporter for the turn needs to be this, which doesn't draw you cards. So at least on the turn you play this, you are starving yourself for draw. And part of the reason End Zoroark is so good is because you can get like 2, 3, 4 of them out and trade into a bunch of cards, and you can't do that here. In the One Piece card game, you're limited to how many characters you can have, but you can play new ones over the old ones. So you can play support characters and then replace them when you get better ones later. That's not how Pokemon works. When a bench spot is filled, you need to get rid of that Pokemon. So it's not like you can go multiple End Zoroark and then replace them easily. It's the most enticing combo we've seen in many years, maybe literally ever. However, it does feel a bit like it might be bait. And it might not ever actually work. But if it does, you're gonna win the game. Still, I promised you the return of Trainers Pokemon, and I delivered. I promised you one of the dumbest Pokemon cards we've ever seen, and I delivered. So now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of this in the comment section. Do you think it's gonna work? Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at Diancie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Kanto Royalty, who's been a supporter of ours for a long time now and seems to be a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.